Hey everybody, Michelle is here. February 5th, 2026 on a Thursday. Wow. To me, I don't know about anybody else, but it seems as though time is really, really speeding up. And, before you know it, your life is going to be passing by. And then you're going to be at a at a culmination, so to speak, of your life, and you're just not gonna you're gonna be asking, man, where did all the time go? And a culmination is the attainment of the highest point of altitude reached by a heavenly body passage across transit. I don't like that. That sounds religious. Let's see what it has here. It can describe the climax of a career or the outcome of a extensive research. That's another one. It's an endpoint, right? The highest point or degree of something, the completion, right? Those are some of the definitions. It has, so far, it hasn't been, I won't say the word, well, it hasn't been commercialized yet. So that's why you just need to understand different languages, if you can, different synonyms, be able to express yourself with different types of words that are similar in meaning. Because otherwise, you're just going to you're not going to cultivate and and comprehend what you're learning. If you can't understand it as a metaphor, parable, figuratively, metaphorically, that is extremely important. So I'm just kind of looking around. So again, I'm very encouraged when I listen to certain people talk on their podcasts, certain people talk on their computer screens, their cell phones, and blah blah blah. I'm encouraged. I hadn't heard this kind of the way people are expressing themselves and diving into deep conversations. I've never heard that before. I'm being honest. I've been around a while. Okay, I'm old. I'm 60. I'm old. I'm in my 60s. Okay, I'm in my 60s. So that means the early part of 60s. And I've been around this so-called mental health, self-improvement, that type of realm of discussing and topics. They used to call it spiritual. And I told you that word has been so diluted, it's lost its genuine, authentic meaning. It has. So, and it's been replaced. It's the most, it's a commodity now. If someone's talking about spirituality is usually in the form of a commodity. They're attempting to sell you something. They want you to buy something, blah, 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 blah. Let's just be point blank about it. And the reason why, and I'm so thankful, is some of these, these beautiful minds of people are picking it up. They're picking it up and they're figuring it out. They're like, wait a second here. And I love it. They're like, wait a second here. And they're grounded. You can look in someone's eyes and tell that they're not hallucinating, in a trance. You can tell that by looking in someone's eyes. That's why I love looking into the eyes of people, especially into the eyes of, someone I'm in an intimate relationship with, and blah, blah, blah. Because there it is. Who, I'm not going to show my age, but it's there. It's right there in their eyes. That's why, they were several years ago. I can remember, and it doesn't matter where you're looking into someone's eyes. They can be on your cell phone, they can be on your laptop. Before we were before 2022. How about that? It has changed tremendously now, where people can manipulate you and deceive you with their eyes, because that's what they're doing now with some of this technology. So unfortunately, if you are not grounded and understand discernment and understand what is real and what's fake, then you're going to fall for it every time. Okay, so thankfully, I am trained. I've trained myself to know how to discern. That's a training. Okay, and that's via life experiences. No matter what anyone tells you, there's no other way around it. And that's why I said most people are just selling you something. So spirituality is one of them. Yeah, it's crazy. But I am thankful and encouraged, because there are certain people, beautiful people out there, who are picking it up quickly. They're like, wait a second here. And that's what the dawning of the age of Aquarius is about anyway. It's about coming out of your beliefs, in the age of Pisces, and coming and the age of Aquarius started in 1844, if I'm not mistaken. And then it's supposed to culminate, the culmination, the end point of February 3rd, 2029. So people are snapping out of it. And that's beautiful. That is so beautiful, because based on the situations that we're in, which are dire and catastrophic, it is, thankfully we as people helping to usher this in properly, we are realizing that it does work. It does work. Reconstruction does work if you put in the work, and your consciousness will do the rest to help you snap out of it. And like I say, it's beautiful. And I hear some of these young voices of people, and remember, we are all, we all have storage banks of other personalities within us. So, in other words, this is not our first go round by any stretch of the imagination. This is 1,000,000 years plus in the works, in development. And each time, we end up failing and destroying ourselves. So I'm encouraged. I'm not going to say I'm hopeful, because when I say I'm hopeful, that means I'm doubting, and I have no doubt. I have no doubt anymore, because I see the results. And it's encouraging. It's promising, and I like that. I like those words. So as you are reconstructing yourself, re-examining your life, that is almost like you have a blank canvas to develop yourself by any means necessary. The key, though, the key to success is no one has to know. Yes, you could talk about a little bit of it on the social media platforms, because if anybody's not discerning what you're saying and just taking it in, they're not ready for reconstruction anyway. They're not ready for re-examining your life if they're just taking everything what you're saying and eating it like a great meal without realizing it's poisoning them. The same things can happen when you deconstruct from a certain reality or a certain religion, especially. Like, why would anybody, when I have stepped back, I've been out of this religious trap for decades now. And I told you there was this one phrase I heard or read while I was in the process of deconstructing myself. I read this series of words put together. Let me see if I can find it real quick. And that helped me to snap right out of it. So that's what happens with certain people. it just takes a sounds or tone. Sounds and tones. And remember, words are sounds and tones. Or when you read out something, it starts to, it's like almost regulating you. And when I read that, as I was going through the process, that was it for me. It's like I snapped right out of it. Because like I told you, most of us are fearful of death. Let's be honest. It was unawareness is death. Awareness is deathless. I don't know what author or what dogma that was picked up, because it's a dogma too. It was, it's in a dogma text. And remember, some of the language in some of these religious texts are true, but they're distorted if you don't think it through for yourself. And in most cases, it's distorted for a reason. But most of us are afraid of death, or at least I was, but no, I no longer. There's no longer. It's not necessary. That means if I'm afraid of death, that means I'm afraid of my life right now, and that's anything but true. So this deconstruction process is I want to send out encouraging love, universal love, to those of you who have taken this step. It's courageous, okay? But at the same time, it's dangerous, because you're dealing with criminal negative energy that has fortified itself into a plasma of energy, okay? And that's a force field, actually, that's encased around this planet. That's why we are not going to be able to get out of our soul system, regardless of what they're doing with these spaceships or shuttles in our soul system. That is as far as we're going to go. And yes, eventually we will be on Mars, and eventually we will be on the moon publicly. It's being hidden now because they got to prep it up. They knew water was on both those surfaces for decades upon decades upon decades. They knew water was there. But again, and someone said something, I can't remember who this creator was. I think some of you creators are fantastic, magnificent, and marvelous because of your courageous, fearless, so you do help with your sounds and tones. And I know you're not sharing everything you're doing. That's it. That's, in other words, you know what to do. And I just want to send encouraging words to you. Keep going, keep going, keep going. It is peace. Regardless of what is going on around me, there is always peace within. There can be some catastrophic events going on outside of, my apartment, my studio, but I still have peace within. It goes nowhere. It goes nowhere. And the silence of peace, the universal love of peace. I mean, gosh, that's heavenly. If you still are stuck on that concept of heaven and hell, you create your own heaven, you create your own hell. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and stop it right now. But trust me, I will be back.